I don't want you guys watching a 20-minute video, but I listen to Christian music during trips, and I feel fine. I feel protected. And maybe, well, no, maybe this was my sign right here that you should be listening to this all the time because the other stuff is no good. If you don't want to trip out, listen to this. So that's what drew me into Christianity. The fact that every trip I've had, when I felt like it was going to bed, I would just listen to excuse me, Christian music, and I just felt that was a sign that this is what you should be listening to all the time. So I switched over to non-secular music, and I've been that way ever since. It took me a while to make it a habit, but it's been working for me good. And this is what helps me if I, go on a trip. Now, the reason why God hates hate is because it promotes violence, death, and destruction. So let me break it down like this. If you're, I've never done anything to anybody where I caused them to want to hurt themselves. I've never done nothing like that. But let's say, like here's an example. I had a really mean teacher that would berate me in school, during elementary school. She was very nasty. I guess you could say she was angry and she was a hateful person. Her anger and her hate, dislike of me, caused me to be hateful towards women. It spreads like a virus. The hate you give to one person can cause them to hate other people. And then their hate spreads on to that person. So it's like God hates hate because it spreads, and it's the catalyst of violence and death. Because hate it promotes violence and death. When you don't like somebody, when you dislike a particular person or group, you eventually respond in violence. You respond with guns, with knives, anything that's going to potentially end their life. So it's like there are ways in the Bible that explain to you how to deal with a racist or a hateful person or an angry person, but you don't respond to them in the same way because you're stooping down to their level, and you are gonna be hateful. If you become a racist, you become angry, you're gonna eventually spread that to the next person. So look at it like this. I say something racist or hateful to somebody, 9 times out of 10, they may be angry by what I've done, and then they'll take it out on somebody, and then that person takes it out on somebody. So like it spreads, and you can't hate God's creation because, like I said, we're all one people on the same planet. As cheesy as that sounds, that's just what it is, guys. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. During all of my experiences, Charles Darwin's if he had music that couldn't save me, science couldn't save me. You know, an atheist talking couldn't save me. None of that stuff could. The only thing that calmed me down and that could save me was God. So, and I'm talking about music that talks about him and his son. So this is why I became a full-time Christian and a real Christian, because it's like you can't hate excuse me, you can't hate his creations. And like I said, when I used to use marijuana, and I felt like I was tripping out a little bit, I would always turn on like religious sermons or religious music, and that would calm me down. So these were like the signs that I needed to become a Christian. And this is the logic behind why I became a Christian. It's not the right way. I wish it was another way. I would have became a real Christian. But I needed something to explain to me why I should convert to Christianity, because I don't really feel like anybody talking to me would have really convinced me otherwise. you know. But I totally understand, and it takes me a while to understand things. But let me break it down again. You being hateful, you being racist, it spreads on. Any any bad treatment you give somebody, it spreads on to them. It's like if I was, it's like this. When I was called the N word in Florida by this homeless guy, it caused me to be really, really, like really hateful. And imagine I take that out on somebody else. Then they may take it out on somebody else. And who's to say they won't respond in murder? Like it was during the 2020 civil unrest, there was this black guy who said that the next white person that the next white person he sees, I think he worked at like an auto shop or something. He said he would kill the next white person he sees because what he saw with George Floyd. And this is another thing I want to explain to you. You know how to cure racism? You know how to stop hate? You have to stop watching the news. You have to stop watching content that talks about it. You have to stop celebrating months that remember that commemorate racism. You have to get it out of your life. What you need to do is become a full-time Christian and dedicate your life to Christ. Now, I'm going to say this again so you understand. Reading, watching, listening, and learning about it is not helping you overcome it one bit. All it does is remind you about something that, unfortunately, which is evil. It exists, right? There's evil in the world, unfortunately, but consuming it does not make it any better. It's going to just make things worse. Like with my father, and I have a subscriber who has a situation similar to mine. With I'm not going to put her on blast, but she has a situation like mine. It's like with my father. It doesn't help to keep reminding myself, making videos about what he did to me as a kid. I have to think about the good that he's done too. I don't know everybody's parents, but if somebody is struggling with childhood trauma, I'm not just going to say, "Oh, you need help. You need to talk to somebody." No, that's the best advice I'm going to give them is think about the good they have done. I'm not justifying whatever bad they have done, but think about the good they have done in your life. Think about the good every day. Over time, you're going to forget about the bad. Sometimes the bad may outweigh the good, but just remind yourself constantly of the good. And remind yourself this is the person that brought you in this world. It does not mean though, and also when you remind yourself of the good constantly, you may come to the point where you forgive them. But forgiveness doesn't mean you have to trust them. Doesn't mean they have to be in your life. But you can't, unfortunately, I know it's hard, but you can't hold on to that because it's not what God wants us to do while we're here. We can't hold on to anger because, like I said, when we hold on to things and we're angry, we end up like Nick Reiner, the guy that killed his parents. When we hold on to things and we hold on to anger, we end up like um, Bridget Harris that killed her father. She intended to castrate him, but she wound up suffocating him with a sock. It's a real story. It's Bridget Harris. She was molested by her father. She's out of prison now, but she held on to anger. She held on to the grudge against her father. I'm not justifying what he did, but her anger, her vindictiveness towards her father, it ended in her killing him. And we can't kill God's creation because I always remind myself at the end of the day, there's only one judge and we're going to be judged by him. And this is why for the rest of my life, well, as long as I'm here, that's what I'm going to dedicate my life to. I'm going to do another part of this.